He is in the eye of the beholder. But science is not. Science is not in the eye of the beholder. I mean, you just run up against fact.
Bill Maher has gone off on the Democrats once again, and this time, it's savage. The far-left fanatics spent years force-feeding America a non-stop diet of woke nonsense, and Maher is tearing it apart one chunk at a time. On his latest Real Time episode, the comedian torched the so-called progressives, blasting them for glamorizing reckless, unhealthy behavior. This wasn't your average comedy monologue, it was a full-on political inferno. If you're here for unfiltered truth bombs, buckle up, hit subscribe, and let's dive in.
Interesting. Now that we have Ozempic, I hear much less about the body positivity movement, which was always Orwellian. It was always Orwellian to say that being fat was body positivity. It is the exact opposite, or this bullshit about how you could be healthy at any weight.
Right out of the gate, Maher went straight for the jugular, ripping into the woke mob's hypocrisy on obesity. Remember not too long ago, if you even hinted that someone overweight should consider healthier habits, you'd instantly be branded fatphobic and cancelled? Social media was flooded with influencers pushing reckless lifestyles, dressing it up as body positivity, while the loudest woke voices cheered it on. But look at them now, scrambling for Ozempic prescriptions to drop weight overnight. So much for empowerment. Turns out, body positivity was never about health. It was just another empty feel-good illusion pushed by the woke left.
The reality is that people throughout time have an idea of classical standards of beauty. And in our case, in our civilization, there have been an American standard of beauty that actually reflects what people want. And so,
fat was in at a time. You can see it in the paintings, but it's when people were poor and food was,
It's not a sign
that's
of
right. And in certain cultures, like the Pacific Islander cultures, there's different cultural ramifications. But the reality is that more people would rather be, petite, trim, low body fat than be 500 pounds. And I think that's what
maybe in your
proves.
white world, but yeah. I mean, that's not everybody.
Except in a handful of rare situations, being overweight is directly tied to poor health. It doesn't matter your race, background, or culture. Biology doesn't negotiate with political correctness. The math is simple: consume more energy than your body can burn, and the excess sticks around as fat. That stored fat doesn't disappear, it builds up, stressing the heart, damaging joints, and burdening vital organs. Over time, those extra pounds can trigger diabetes, heart disease, and shave years off your life. Health isn't a cultural preference, it's biological reality. Ignoring that truth isn't progressive, it's dangerous.
Comics from the U.S. will perform at a festival in Saudi Arabia next month. I saw the poster. Wow. Some friends of mine. What does this suggest about how liberals view the country now? Yeah, I mean, some big names. I mean, Whitney Cummings is going over there. I think Bill Burr, Louis C.K. are performing in Saudi Arabia. Wow. I mean, who's going? Is my question.
It seems high risk. It seems like the thing that might end in a public beheading if you say the wrong thing. I would keep the jokes right within the lines. Yeah.
I don't think this is about politics and how they see Saudi Arabia. I think this is about this.
Oh, it is?
Yeah. How much are they being paid?
Saudi Arabia knows how to bribe. They did it with sports. Now they're doing it with comedy?
Yeah.
Wow.
Political principles tend to go out the window when there's enough money on the table.
Maybe Colbert get a job over.
That's liberalism in a nutshell, loud declarations about their sacred principles right up until the money shows up. Then suddenly, those principles vanish quicker than a broken campaign promise. Hypocrisy isn't a flaw of the brand, it is the brand. And here's the irony, these same so-called fearless comedians who whine about free speech at home will cash big checks to perform in countries where comedy can literally cost you your life. Sure, Saudi Arabia has rolled out some reforms, women driving, concerts, cinemas, but let's not pretend it's a paradise of liberty. Step out of line there, and the consequences are still brutally real. But for liberals chasing fat paydays, morality doesn't matter. When money talks, their values walk.
Remember this, when President Trump ran for office the first time, his big chant at the rally was "lock her up." I was a little bit like, this seems a little extreme, not sure how I feel about this, but after he won, he said something very interesting. He said, that was a campaign thing, Hillary's fine, we're gonna all move on. And he didn't actually seek to prosecute his political opponents. But now, over the last 10 years, we've had Russiagate, we've had investigations, we've had indictments, we've had arrests, we've had the mugshot, we'd have a bullet through his ear.
Christopher Rufo might be onto something big here, and it's not just theory, it's tactical warfare. He says Trump's best move is to go after the entrenched power brokers running the Democrat Party directly. And honestly, he's right. In his first term, Trump chose restraint. He didn't weaponize the system against political opponents. Instead, he focused on governing, and what did he get for it? A barrage of sham investigations, fabricated scandals, and non-stop witch hunts. The lesson is crystal clear: in Washington, restraint isn't seen as strength, it's seen as weakness. Rufo's message is simple and brutal: hold corrupt opponents accountable. Not for revenge, but for justice. To prove no office is untouchable, and no politician is above the law.
You've all been told that you can have it all, and you're a queen and a lady boss, and that bitch. But maybe your judgy ass is no prize either. And if you jilt a guy for not thinking enough about Black Lives Matter, just tell me this. What have you actually done that made any more of a difference in any black life than what your inadequate ex-fiancé did? I asked Senator Adam Schiff here last week when the subject of Trump's sliding poll numbers came up. Okay, but how are the Democrats going to blow it this time? This is how. Posturing, purity tests, the politics of I unfriend you if you're not exactly with me 1,000%.
Once again, Democrats are fumbling their chance to lead, and the reason is painfully predictable: their addiction to moral grandstanding. Instead of uniting Americans around real, practical solutions, they climb onto their pedestals and sneer down at everyone else. Ordinary people who care about jobs, safety, and stability are vilified just for refusing to chant the latest progressive slogans. It's the same tired playbook: lecture, shame, divide. And instead of learning from 2016 or 2020, Democrats have doubled down, alienating voters with arrogance and radical woke policies. They're not building bridges, they're burning them. And in the process, they're throwing away the very opportunity to regain power.
You define wokeness, because I hear people use the term all the time and it means something different to everybody.
Well, again, I think it's this collection of ideas that are not building on liberalism, but very often undoing it. I mean, 5 years ago, Abraham Lincoln was not a controversial figure among liberals. We liked him. Now they take his name off schools and tear down his statues. Really? Lincoln isn't good enough for you? 5-10 years ago, bedrock liberalism was, we are striving to be a colorblind society where we don't see race. Of course, we see it, but it doesn't matter. That's not what woke is. Woke is something very different. It's identity politics. We see it all the time. It's always the most important thing. I don't think that's liberalism. I mean, I could mention so many issues like that.
In this segment, Bill Maher doesn't just take a swing at woke ideology, he explains why he's determined to fight it head-on. For Maher, this isn't politics, it's about protecting the survival of common sense in a culture spiraling off the rails. Woke dogma doesn't simply annoy people, it corrodes society from within. It swaps truth for propaganda, logic for outrage, and merit for identity quotas. At its root, it's anti-reality, forcing people to deny basic facts just to look virtuous. And once a culture chooses lies over reason, collapse is inevitable. That's why Maher calls it dangerous. It erodes trust, fractures communities, and poisons public discourse. His warning is clear: if we don't push back, woke ideology won't just frustrate us, it will dismantle the very fabric of society itself.
You get a certain amount of cult followers for anything, and then the true believers never die. I mean, a lot of people would say right now, the Democratic Party is still in that mode, which is going to render them possibly an irrelevant party if they don't change.
What would you like to see from the Democrats, like, going forward?
Well, much more centrism, much more get rid of the woke baggage, old school liberal is what I usually describe myself as. But that's very often the opposite of woke. Woke would like people to believe that there's some sort of an extension of liberalism, But
Maher hits another nerve here. The Democratic Party is marching itself toward extinction. Unless they wake up and make a drastic course correction, they're headed straight for political irrelevance. History is littered with powerful parties that rose on energy and promise but crumbled because they ignored the people they claimed to represent. The Democrats are repeating that pattern, clinging to ideological purity and woke theatrics instead of tackling real issues like jobs, security, and healthcare. Meanwhile, Trump proved the opposite. When parts of his strategy faltered, he adjusted, sharpened his message, and fought his way back stronger. That's the difference between survival and collapse in politics: adaptability. If Democrats don't drop the arrogance and face reality, Maher's warning won't just be commentary, it'll be prophecy.
the thought leaders in the Democratic Party keep encouraging and not rebuking the idea that America is cringe and the people who run Gaza are great. The Democrats are doomed. Alyssa Slotkin's right. Liberals are weak and woke, especially the white ones, and they indulge all sorts of nonsense from their kids, a pattern that then continues on in the Democratic Party.
The Democrats have devolved into a weak, spineless shell of a party, hopelessly chained to woke ideology. They can't stand firmly on anything they claim to believe, because the moment those beliefs face real scrutiny, their entire platform collapses like a house of cards. Even their most prized woke policies crumble under pressure. The contradictions are glaring, leaving them exposed and humiliated. That's exactly why Bill Maher warns their extinction is inevitable. A party that hides behind moral posturing instead of offering real solutions cannot survive. Maher sees it plainly. When your foundation is performative virtue signaling instead of common sense, time isn't your ally, it's your executioner. Unless Democrats rediscover backbone and reality, they're not just losing relevance. They're erasing themselves from history.
Last election, it was all the gender stuff, the insistence that men can have babies and such. And now I fear that we like the terrorists is the new that. Liberals need to push back on the dumb ideas that come from their children.
It would almost be funny if it weren't so pathetic, the way the woke crowd elevates children as if teenagers are fountains of wisdom instead of, well, kids. They treat adolescent tantrums like profound philosophy and outsource decision-making to TikTok soundbites. In their warped logic, adults are supposed to sit quietly and take notes from children with zero life experience. The result? Parenting upside down. Politics flipped inside out. No wonder the Democratic Party is collapsing when its guiding principles come from adolescent outrage instead of science, history, or experience. Bill Maher is dead right. Worshipping youthful ignorance over common sense isn't just foolish, it's suicidal. And it shows why Democrats keep sabotaging themselves. They alienate half the country, cling to hollow posturing, and crumble when tested by reality. History is clear: parties that refuse to adapt or face the truth fade into irrelevance. Maher isn't just mocking them, he's warning them. And unless Democrats wake up, their progressive future will be nothing more than a political obituary.